So imagine you're just a normal person who thinks, hey, maybe we should spend a little less money on government stuff. And suddenly, you're being treated like you're literally Voldemort. If you've been anywhere near the internet lately, you've probably noticed that political debates don't really end in agree to disagree anymore. It's more like, agree with me, or I'll throw a brick through your window. What the hell is going on? Why is it that the side always talking about tolerance and peace and love is suddenly the same side that thinks a bike lock to the head is a valid debating tactic? Through all the name calling, there's a specific mental ladder they climb to make sure they don't feel bad about it later. I call it the dehumanization ladder. It's a quick teaser for the levels people go through when they stop seeing you as a person and start seeing you as an enemy of humanity. You go from being the guy with a different opinion to a threat to democracy and finally an enemy of humanity. By the time they're done with the mental gymnastics, violence doesn't just feel okay, it feels like a moral obligation. We're going to work our way up that ladder today and see how someone goes from arguing about tax brackets to wanting to delete their neighbors. The easiest way to start a fight and feel like a hero is just to use the everyone I disagree with is a Nazi shortcut. It's like a get out of jail free card for being a jerk. Think about it. If you actually believe the guy across the street is a literal 1940s villain, then catching a felony charge for throwing a brick at his head doesn't feel like a crime to you. It feels like a righteous quest. It's like they have an instruction manual for how to turn into a political supervillain, and it all starts with this mental ladder they climb to make sure they don't feel bad about being violent later. It's wild because politics used to be about boring stuff like tax plans and road repairs, but now it's turned into a high-stakes superhero movie where one side thinks they're the Avengers and everyone who disagrees is a monster that needs to be deleted from Earth. And when you see your neighbors as movie villains, you don't try to debate them, you just try to cancel their life subscription. The crazy part is, once someone is on that ladder, it's not about who has the better ideas anymore, and they aren't even trying to win you over with better arguments. They're just trying to get their own side to crash out and go scorched earth on everyone who doesn't wear the same team jersey. Look at Cenk Uygur over at the Young Turks. There are countless clips of him screaming about how every single Republican is a fascist.
These people aren't like fascists. They are fascists. So at this point, I don't want to hear any talk from Republicans about, oh no guys, we just have simple disagreements. Republicans are ugly, they're immoral, and they're fascist.
When you tell your audience that the other side is trying to destroy the world, you're basically handing them a permission slip to stop acting like a civilized human being.
I don't want anything to do with them. That's the reality of what Republicans are today in America.
This, so caffeinated on hatred that they have to do something drastic or the world is going to end tomorrow, panic attack energy, eventually turned into a literal meme that people actually started taking seriously in the real world, like it's a personality trait. I'm talking about the punch a Nazi meme.
I'd like to go on record as being opposed to the use of violence for purposes of conflict resolution.
Really, Tommy dear, haven't I taught you anything? First step aside.
This slogan used to be for actual World War II villains, the guys in the history books, but it expanded to include basically half the US population. So if you like lower regulations or think borders should exist, you're suddenly in the please punch me demographic. And while the memes do the heavy lifting online, there are actual talking heads on the news poking the bear from behind a desk while pretending they're the good guys. Yes, I'm talking about the Richard Spencer clip. If you were thinking of him too, then you've got EBK, bro. No worries if you don't know, because your boy's gonna give you a rundown right now. Basically, bro was talking about cute little Pepe the Frog during an interview right as he got clocked in the face.
It's their version of the neo-Nazi movement.
It's Pepe's become kind of a symbol.
Spencer says he called 911 at the scene and plans to file a police report. I kind of like getting into vigorous back and forth with people who disagree with me, said Spencer, but punching like that just crosses a line. Totally unacceptable. He went on to say he feared future targeting. Certainly, some people think I'm not a human being and I can just be attacked at will. And guess what the internet did? No, they didn't report it like they normally do. They turned it into epic remixes with music. Ha ha. Check these out.
It's Pepe's become kind of a symbol.
This is how we do it.
And this from Pretty Bad Tweeter, who said this is the most patriotic I felt in a long time and did a rendition. And look, Spencer is a weird guy with bad ideas.
Hail
Trump. Hail our people, hail victory.
Like, he denied being a white supremacist in a December 2016 interview, but in that interview he said, only white people can support what we call Western civilization. He also has said there should be a peaceful ethnic cleansing, which is basically saying people not of European descent should leave the US voluntarily. But the moment we decide as a society that it's okay to hit people if their ideas are bad enough, we open a door that doesn't have a lock on it. Now, you can go on Etsy or Amazon and buy Punch and Nazi hoodies and stickers. Violence became merch. It's the only business where a customer is always right, and the right is always the target. There's also the media matchlighters. Like an, I'm not saying do it, but wouldn't it be funny if move. These personalities hand out the matches and gasoline while standing back just enough so there's not enough proof of them being involved. It's wild how the people who preach peace and love suddenly became huge fans of the UFC the second the right person gets hit in the face. That's so ironic. Violence is horrible until it happens to a conservative. Then suddenly everybody's a comedian and the peace talk goes right out the window. You see this peak toxicity whenever someone on the right actually kicks the bucket and the internet turns into a giant, gross party. Literally like when Rush Limbaugh died.
A really great man, a great conservative, somebody that loved our country, loved his family, loved a lot of things, but he was a friend of mine, Rush Limbaugh.
You had people on forums posting, great news, Rush Limbaugh is dead, and you've got comments like, another one bites the dust, and talking about how happy they were that a human being lost his battle with cancer. Major publications too, places that claim to be the adults in the room, running headlines that read like a list of insults from a middle school playground. HuffPost literally put bigot, misogynist, homophobe, crank, Rush Limbaugh dead. Capitalized that HuffPost splashed across its homepage. Several other left-leaning sites took the same tack and tone, though these have mostly been removed now. And of course, they were positively restrained in comparison with Twitter. Rest in piss, the F word, followed immediately by Limbaugh's name. Limbaugh brought a lot of people a lot of joy by dying. It was liked by more than 35,000 of the morbidly contented. Yes, Rush said and did things they found offensive, like playing Ding Dong the Witch is Dead on his talk show after US politician Representative Nancy Pelosi retired from Democratic leadership.
Ding Dong the Wicked Witch, and it's bye-bye Pelosi.
And yes, his loyal followers did fight aggressively to defend his honor, like attacking a journalist who wrote that, when I heard that Limbaugh died, I shrugged, nothing more. I didn't mourn his death. I didn't celebrate it. I kept eating my lunch without any pause, I wrote, saying, you're a piece of that couldn't wear Rush's jockstrap. Your parents have to be ashamed to have a little for a son. Eat and die maggot. Unlike Rush Limbaugh's death, you will die without any fanfare or hatred, because you are zero. It is you that will rot in hell for saying, thinking, and expressing such hatred. But if you can't look at a grieving widow and feel any shred of empathy because her husband had different takes on her tax code, you aren't a freedom fighter. And it didn't even stop there. We saw the same thing with Queen Elizabeth. People who have never stepped foot in the UK were suddenly experts on colonial history, using her death as an excuse to post, I'm glad she's gone, memes for clout. They aren't actually grieving the victims of history, they're just desperate to show their team that they can be the most ruthless. It's a race to see who can be the least human, and the prize is a few thousand retweets from people who would do the exact same thing to you in the second you step out of line. They stay in this headspace because they're caught in a paranoia loop. Imagine a machine telling you 24 hours a day that a genocide is coming for you specifically. In that world, throwing a brick starts to feel like self-defense instead of just being a jerk. To keep that paranoia bubbling, the leaders of these movements have to make sure nobody ever talks to someone with a different opinion who might actually be a nice person. This is radicalization through isolation. Beliefs are like mold. They grow way better in dark, lonely places where you never hear a different perspective. If you stay in a ready-to-crash-out state, you're easier to control. And if they can't lock you in a physical room, the next best thing is just deleting your entire social and financial existence so you don't even exist to society anymore. This leads us to the street level version of this madness, Antifa. You've seen the footage from Portland and Berkeley. There's that infamous clip of the bike lock guy, Eric Clanton. He was a college philosophy professor, a guy who is supposed to teach people how to think, and he decided the best way to win an argument was to smash a Trump supporter over the head with a heavy metal U-lock.
He's bleeding. Yo. Hey, man. He's bleeding.
Came under assault, the officers, from a lot of people who set up camp there. As they were treated, it ended up giving a lot of room to the Antifa protesters to set up a camp. And right now they are barricaded. They've got a stockpile of weapons. They've got armed guards. They've got a kitchen ready. So they're there for the long haul.
I felt something hit me really hard in the back of the head. There were people dressed in black who just surrounded me, and I just felt punches to the head and face in every direction. I remember thinking at that point, police are going to come in and help me, but there was no police. They didn't come.
This is the real goal of cancel culture exile. It's not about consequences. It's about making someone a ghost in their own country so it's easier to justify treating them like the enemy.
Antifa claimed to protect and defend people of color from racists.
The real trick was when they convinced everyone that saying hello the wrong way is basically the same thing as a physical assault. They started saying words of violence. But here's the logic. If speech is violence, then physical violence is just a proportional response. This allows someone to swing fist and still claim they were the victim because they felt unsafe by a sentence someone said. They use these generative words to bypass your brain entirely and go straight for the angry button in your chest like an emotional grenade. Look at the meltdown at Evergreen State College. You had a mob of students literally hunting for a professor, Bret Weinstein, because he didn't want to participate in a day of absence where white people were told to stay off campus.
When a professor of evolutionary biology named Bret Weinstein objected to a day of absence when white students and faculty were asked to voluntarily leave campus.
They surrounded the president's office. They were screaming at faculty.
Fuck you and fuck the police!
And the videos look like a scene out of Lord of the Flies.
Last month, Evergreen State College in Washington went crazy.
These kids were genuinely convinced that a biology professor was performing a violent act against their existence. Words like oppression or privilege aren't descriptions anymore. They're just grenades dropped into conversations to make the rational part of your brain leave the building. It also helps their cause that people are becoming worse at reading. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, a huge chunk of American adults struggle with basic literacy. When you can't process complex information, you become a sitting duck for radical, one-sentence solutions to really complicated problems. If it doesn't fit in a TikTok caption or a protest sign, it doesn't exist to them. Our schools are leaning into this too. They're trading in the boring stuff like logic and math for exciting stuff like being a mini activist for the current thing. It's less about learning how to think and more about being told what to believe, turning students into soldiers for a battleground they didn't even ask for. If you teach a generation that their entire world is a system of power designed to hurt them, don't be surprised when they want to burn it all down by the time they're 20. This whole vibe is usually led by some massive influencer who makes hating the right people look like the coolest thing you could possibly do for a living. Younger viewers just copy whatever their favorite streamer does. If the guy they watch for 8 hours a day is screaming, "Eat the rich," they're eventually going to start looking for the silverware. Take a guy like Hassan Piker, for example. He's basically the final boss of rich guy telling you to hate rich guys aesthetic.
That he grew up extremely rich and was handed everything.
You guys probably know this, but if you don't, my uncle has a YouTube channel called The Young Turks. It was like a 26-person shop. It was like a, tiny operation. Not that big, not that media behemoth or anything. So I was like, yeah, I'll just go work with him, do an internship with him, and I'll live in LA. I was dead broke and was critiquing capitalism. And then people would be like, yeah, because you're a fucking loser. And now that I have money and I still do it, people are like, well, hypocrite much?
He's got millions of followers and pushes the absolute limit of what you can say before the platform realizes he's breaking every rule in the book. I mean, the guy literally has clips talking about killing landlords, and his audience just laughs it off like it's a goofy Minecraft meme. Let's actually pull up the clip of this landlord rant, because the setup is pure comedy. You've got a guy sitting in a room that looks like the bridge of a futuristic starship, probably wearing a shirt that costs more than my monthly grocery bill, and he's talking to a chat full of teenagers about liquidating people who own property. If you've ever wondered what it looks like when someone wants to be Che Guevara but also wants to make sure their Uber Eats arrives on time, this is it.
Well, my understanding is that the property owners who have properties there choose just not to rent it at all.
Yeah, kill them.
result.
Kill those motherfuckers and murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalist bloods, dude.
The best part is the kill landlords thing. He tries to play it off as a joke, like it's just gamer talk. But imagine if a conservative streamer sat there and said the same thing about any other group. The platform would nuke them so fast their internet provider would forget they ever existed. But with Hasan, it's just content. He's planting these seeds in the heads of kids who can't even balance a checkbook yet, telling them that the reason they're unhappy isn't because they spend 10 hours a day watching a guy react to MasterChef, but because a guy named Bill owns a duplex down the street. It's satire until it isn't. Like, don't even get me started on his America deserved 9/11 clip.
This is so insane. America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it, I'm saying it.
I remember seeing that live, or maybe it was reposted. Everything from that era is a blur of blue light and anger, but the sheer arrogance of it was breathtaking. He's sitting there, protected by the very country he's trashing, making millions of dollars off the very capitalist system he says is a death cult, and he's justifying the death of thousands of innocent people because of geopolitics. It's the ultimate I'm smarter than you move. He's like that one kid in freshman philosophy who just discovered what a social contract is and now thinks he's qualified to redesign the entire planet from his bedroom. But the algorithm eats it up because anger is the ultimate currency, and Hasan is the Federal Reserve of being mad at people who have more money than him. Even though he has more money than almost everyone watching. Hasan was basically installed through connections. His uncle is Cenk Uygur. Remember this guy?
These people aren't like fascists. They are fascists. So at this point, I don't want to hear any talk from Republicans about, oh no guys, we just have simple disagreements. Republicans are ugly.
Proving it's easier to lead a revolution when your family owns the news company. The platforms don't care because the algorithms love it. Outrage incentives are real. Being reasonable doesn't get clicks, but being a screaming radical who wants to burn it all down gets you on the front page and a fat paycheck. You see this double standard everywhere on Twitch. You have creators getting banned for weeks making a joke that's too edgy. But then you have people like Hasan or other radical streamers who can basically call for the end of a country and get a pat on the back from the CEO. There was even that controversy when Hasan was shocking his dog with a collar on stream while talking about animal rights.
America, Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop. This is the one that they saw. It has the capacity to vibrate, and that's it.
Oopsie. Whoops. Do you see what I see? Do you see how he thought he was smart and he covered the back of his e-collar with black electrical tape so it would look like a vibration-only collar? I have the vibration-only collar by that brand, and it doesn't look like that. It has words on the back. So he took the prongs off, covered it up, and he thought people wouldn't zoom in and notice that it is an electric collar? How dumb can you be?
These guys think that as long as they stay on the team, they can do whatever they want. Then you add in the fact that we're letting actual criminals walk free in big cities, which makes everyone feel like the whole system is a joke. When people see lenient justice letting the world turn into a real-life video game, they start feeling like they need to take justice into their own hands. It's that hurt people logic, where activists care more about the guy with the knife than the person he's currently stabbing. Look at the data on Defund the Police. It was a slogan that led to massive spikes in crime in cities like Portland and Seattle. When cities like Austin, Minneapolis, and Portland fully embraced Defund the Police and killing skyrocketed as police activity plummeted, murders rose 44% from May 2020 to February 2022. And the people who pushed this slogan were the first ones to complain when their own cars got broken into. But when NYPD began reporting police, arrests climbed 95% from 2021 to 2024, murders dropped. There is a massive sympathy gap. Empathy for actual violent offenders is infinite, but the second you mention a political opponent, that empathy turns into a void. You'll see TikToks of people crying over the systematic struggles of a guy who just robbed a store, but those same people will laugh if a conservative grandmother gets harassed in a restaurant. If you stay in these circles long enough, you'll eventually start drifting away from reality until you're in the deep end of the pool. This is the pipeline. You start with a mild video about social justice, and 6 months later you're in a Discord server learning how to make spicy lemonade. That's a Molotov cocktail for those not in the loop, and ruin your life. Even moderate lefties like Ethan Klein aren't safe. Ethan spent years building this leftist brand, cozying up to the most radical corners of the internet, thinking he was the leader of the pack. But the second, and I mean the millisecond, he expressed a moderate human thought that didn't perfectly align with the mob's current settings, and suggested that maybe we shouldn't celebrate the death of innocent people in international conflicts.
As a father, it's even hard to talk about. This dude was holding his infant. It was like a year old. And he was like patting her on the back and saying like his final goodbye. I mean, he's holding her like she's alive, like he's just burping her or something.
His own fanbase tried to delete him. His own Discord turned into a war zone, and he had to end his Leftovers show with Hassan because the fans were so radical they couldn't handle a single ounce of nuance, and they turned on him like he was a double agent. They didn't just argue with him, they tried to dismantle his life. We're talking about fans who were so progressive and empathetic, they literally called Child Protective Services on his family.
I told this story on the show a few weeks ago about how when we adopted Olive, she had Giardia. And then the next day, Sonny started having diarrhea, so we suspected he might have Giardia. Seeing as that he's an infant, he's crawling around, he's putting everything in his mouth, etc. Makes sense, right? It's obvious. So it turned into this whole snark narrative that our house is a mess, that there's dog shit everywhere, that Sonny is eating shit and getting Giardia, and that, you know, etc., etc. Well, it culminated in somebody finally, an anonymous call went into them on the 3rd, saying that as somebody that works at the house, they wanted to report us because our kids are crawling around eating dog shit and getting viruses.
Think about that level of mental illness. You disagree with a guy's take on a podcast, so your first instinct is to try and have the government take his children away. This is what happens when you build a community based on outrage incentives. You've trained your audience to be a pack of attack dogs, and when you run out of external enemies to point at, they're going to look at the guy holding the leash. Ethan was sitting there on the Leftovers podcast, looking genuinely shell-shocked as his own fans called him a traitor. They'll hate their own country while simping for actual dictators. You'll see influencers go to China to praise their social contract, like Hassan did, of course, while ignoring massive human rights abuses or the fact that you can't even use the platform he's streaming on over there. Let's look at Hassan's China tour, because it's the ultimate I hate my parents move, but on a geopolitical scale. You've got a guy who makes millions of dollars screaming about surveillance and police states in America, and then he flies to China and starts glazing the CCP like he's an unpaid intern for their PR department.
Outside of London, China is one of the more surveilled countries, but London, I think, has the highest density of CCTVs. And you really see it. There's a lot of cameras everywhere you go, like big camera blocks like that. They have basically automated every process of egress and ingress. This is so sick. It's definitely very different vibes. But in a good way.
He's walking around Tiananmen Square, the literal site of a massacre, talking about how high-speed rail is the ultimate proof of a superior society.
Well, if you're smiling just thinking about the trains, are you kidding me? Of course I'm smiling thinking about the trains. I'm so excited. I'm so freaking excited.
He actually sat there and said he has no patriotism for America while praising the social contract of a regime that would have him in a re-education camp in 20 minutes if he streamed the way he does here. It's the peak of Western leftist Orientalism. He doesn't see China as a real country with real oppressed people. He sees it as a gotcha card to play against his own country.
Well, I will when I come
Well,
back.
you will when you live here
and
be Chinese.
You know, like I'll probably do it every morning.
Every morning?
Every morning I'll probably
Before
go.
stream, you'll
Not even for stream, just for yourself.
just for myself.
every morning.
He'll ignore the mass surveillance and the crushing censorship because, hey, at least the trains are fast, right? In America, if a cop looks at him funny, it's systematic oppression and fascism. In China, he has a 2-minute conversation with a cop and calls it a different social contract. It's a joke, bro. He's essentially marketing a communist regime to a bunch of teenagers who think communism is just a cool aesthetic they saw on TikTok. I am Chinese. His words, not mine.
You already look Chinese? What the f? I am Chinese. What the f do you mean?
Which I guess is easier to do when you know you have a US passport in your pocket that can fly you back to your West Hollywood mansion the second things get actually uncomfortable. It proves that for these influencers, the revolution is just a travel vlog, and the victims of the regimes they praise are just the background extras for their quest for clout. It proves the radical left often hates the US more than they actually love freedom. They want to dismantle the foundations of the country, whether it's through the citizenship cheat of open borders or by rewriting history to make every founder look like a cartoon villain. But when you decide the other side isn't even human anymore, there's nothing left to stop the violence from becoming the new normal. When you're absolutely sure you're the good guy, you can justify doing some pretty bad guy things because you think the ends justify the means. This is why you see people chanting, "Eat the rich," outside the homes of politicians while their kids are inside. This is why you see the death parade on social media every time a Republican gets sick. They aren't trying to build a better world, they're trying to satisfy a grudge. This is the final stage. This is the stage where people like Charlie Kirk get attacked on campus and Donald Trump nearly gets his head taken off by a sniper's bullet while he's standing on a stage. It happens because the radical left has convinced themselves they are the main characters in a movie, and in their heads, the only way to save the world is to destroy anyone who stands in their way. They've climbed the dehumanization ladder all the way to the top, and it turns out tolerant left has a very long list of terms and conditions, and being a human being is currently buried on page 402 in font size. Or read the fine print, folks, or just, try having a pulse.